And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of New Earth TV Live. It's good to be with all of you again here today. So again, every Friday, we'll be coming forward with a New Earth TV Live, where we'll be starting off with Q&A, then we'll be getting into some inner practices, and then we'll be getting into some distance healing. Okay, so once we're finished Q&A, you can feel free to bring forward requests for distance healing after we do a particular inner practice once we conclude Q&A. So of course, before we go ahead and get things rolling, we're going to start off with some announcements.
The world's first spiritual rejuvenation technology in the form of modern everyday items has arrived through AetherX. AetherX offers transcendental healing products that work to detoxify, replenish, and restore you on a physical, emotional, and mental level. The Aether Bed Kit takes the form of a powerful rejuvenation technology that utilizes your own life force energy to restore organs, glands, bodily systems, the energy system, and replenish emotional and mental well-being. The AetherX card decks, the healing code cards, eliminate and detoxify physical, emotional, and mental conflicts within the body. 44 beautifully designed geometrical cards specifically designed to work on the major areas of the body, encouraging natural recovery and increased vitality. The Healing Code cards come in 3 different themes: the body, mind, and energy decks, each with their own specific design to renew and rejuvenate the body. AetherX apparel and accessories that offer comfortable attire and beautiful geometrical and image designs to detoxify, strengthen, and rejuvenate the body. Download our collection of free sample images and cards from our website so that you can witness the benefits of AetherX spiritual technology for yourself. Visit our website now at atherx.co and begin your rejuvenation journey with us.
And of course, there is going to be a brand new website that is going to be coming here for AetherX. It's going to be debuting on May 1st. It is also going to be debuting the new Taurus beds. So the Taurus beds are going to be ready effective May 1st. There'll be a great deal of them more that will be available. I'm actually just starting right now to fulfill some of the pre-orders. So again, here you find all of the different products that we have in store as well, from shoes, sandals, socks as well, from pets items as well too that can help them to heal, from thermoses and mugs to shirts, sweaters and hoodies, to of course the ether mat that you see here, and of course we have the quilts, we have the Prana bed, and again May 1st we have the Taurus bed coming forward as well too. So I'm looking forward to that. I have my Taurus bed at home here. It is extremely powerful. It's doing such an incredible job working on just basically repairing your cells. So what you guys may notice when you start to work with the new Taurus bed is that there can be effects, because we're basically going into the cells and we're cleaning the cells out thoroughly. So some people may feel like certain effects, that they may get a little bit of headaches, they may get a little bit of nausea, upset stomach. Don't be alarmed if those things do happen. That's just all part of your body going through a very strong state of purification. Your cells within your body are being cleansed. We're basically discharging all the toxicity and debris, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? All of that is being detoxified out of the physical body and the subtle bodies simultaneously, and also being recharged at the same time. I know I've been sleeping in the Taurus bed now for the past 2 nights, and I've been feeling absolutely incredible. The Prana bed, again, does a really good job. The Taurus bed just basically takes it to the next level. And I'm still kind of using a combination of the Prana bed, or what was referred to as the ether bed, and using that in combination together with the Taurus bed, using the duvet cover and the pillowcases of the Taurus bed, and it has been astounding, right? Feeling really, really great. A lot more energized. When I wake up, sometimes I don't even want to leave the bed because I feel so comfortable. But it's a wonderful product. So that is going to be available on May 1st. Going down the list here a bit more. So that's for next Sunday. That's not for this Sunday. Let me go to the next one. This is the one I was going to do. Okay, distance healing requests by donation, one-to-one private sessions, 3-question private email sessions. So again, if you do want to have a private session with Adronis, you would want to look into the private sessions. And of course, I'm also doing tarot readings and higher self-communication with both the private sessions and the 3 questions by email. But one-to-ones with Adronis, that's where you want the private sessions. And you can find out more on newearthteachings.com. And there is another event coming for Mount Shasta, starting here on June 1st and June 2nd. So it's transmissions from Adronis, the Mount Shasta experience. Okay, this is a donation-based event. Okay, so I'm inviting everybody who's in the California area or from abroad. If you're going to be at Mount Shasta for June 1st and June 2nd, we're going to have an unforgettable experience with Adronis talking about secrets of Mount Shasta, how to make contact with the mountain, how to harness healing energy from the mountain, looking into the history of Mount Shasta, the magic of Mount Shasta from an off-world perspective. It's going to be a really amazing adventure. So if you guys are interested in coming to Mount Shasta, like I said, I already have people coming to me to the UK this August for the Stonehenge tour. Okay, so this is the next tour that I'm doing just before that time. Transmissions from Adronis, the Mount Shasta experience. It's kind of a 2-day tour, but again, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of great insight, a lot of great experiences. This is not going to be shared online, guys. Or if you want to have this experience with Adronis, you need to be at Mount Shasta. Okay, I may consider recording it, but it's not going to be live streamed or anything like that. Okay, this is basically more of the human experience. If you want to be a part of the Mount Shasta experience, having transmissions from Adronis, okay, all you do is just go down to the video description. The event link is there. Just go ahead and click on that. And like I said, it's a donation-based event. You can pay any amount that you wish. And of course, no one is turned away. It's going to be taking place at the Soul Connections, starting on day number 1, Thursday, June 1st at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Okay. Then at day 2, we'll be going to the old Ski Bowl trailhead, which is at the end of the Everett Memorial Highway and leading into Mount Shasta. Okay, so that is going to be Thursday, June 2nd from 1 to 2. We're going to have a little bit of a short Adronis transmission there. Then we're going to be doing a short walk afterwards, talking a little bit more about Mount Shasta and even doing a group healing as well. So again, admission is by donation, and you can find out more info at newearthteachings.com. So come and join me. You're going to have an exciting time if you're there. And of course, everything here on the New Earth Teachings channel is backed up onto our Odyssey backup channel. Website is odyssey.com/@newearthteachings. You can find the link in the video description. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with today's broadcast. Hello, everybody. Good to see you all here. So I put a little note up on the chat as well, too. I know a lot of people are used to coming onto the broadcast here and asking political questions and conspiracy-based questions. What I mean by conspiracy-based questions is anything that represents the threatening of your life, okay? Where you're concerned about certain agencies or anything like that that are trying to threaten your safety, right? We don't really go into that, right? Our goal here in New Earth Teachings, because my goal for this entire channel since 2011 has been to uplift you guys, not to bring you guys down, okay? So with all due respect, if you guys have political questions, if you have those kind of conspiracy, feeling like you're being violated with conspiracy kind of questions, those are for somebody else, right? That's not really what we're here to do. We're here to uplift, we're here to support, we're here to empower, we're here to educate, we're here to bring up and share that universal knowledge for everybody so that we're moving into a much more powerful and enlightening direction. Not a positive direction, but an empowering, balancing, and centering direction, right? If that makes sense. That's really what we're all about here on New Earth Teachings. And that's really where I'm going back into my roots, to going back to what this channel has been about since day 1. And that's empowering you guys, supporting you guys, helping you guys, encouraging you guys, encouraging you to go within, encouraging you to go to the center, encouraging to help you expand, to move you into states of bliss. That's why New Earth Teachings is here. That's what it's always been about. I know for those past 3 years when we had COVID, I was getting into those particular types of topics relating to politics and relating to conspiracy, because we certainly were in uncertain times, right? And I was helping people in there, but we're starting to come out of that now. and I'm no longer deciding to get involved with that stuff anymore, right? We're moving out of that stuff. I'm coming out of that stuff, and I only went into that stuff to get people out of it in the first place. So I think my work in that area has been done, and we're working much more into the self-realization, the empowerment, the universal knowledge, the healing, right? Coming back into your center. That's what we're all about here on Newer Teachings. All right? Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and start off with some questions. So if you do have questions for me, you can feel free to put that in the chat. If you want to make your question priority number 1, you can leave a donation in the super chat as well too, and I'll get to you. All right, so this is a question here from Karina. Karina says, question, Brad, what do you say about CBD drops for the body? So why don't we look at the tarot for that? Okay, giving it kind of an objective perspective through the tarot of what the tarot says about the integrity of the CBD drops and if it benefits the body. So we'll ask, does the CBD drops bring about a great benefit for the human body? Okay, let's take a look at that. Okay, so this is regarding the CBD drops, and it really says it depends on how it's made, it depends on how it's produced, it's making sure that it's being created properly, right? But it can certainly increase one's own ability to heal, okay? There's quite a bit of slander and a lot of fighting in regards to the CBD oil, of course, right, with the CBD drops. Some people in that sense are praising it, some people are trying to slander it, but people who know better kind of walk away from that, okay? So it can be the idea of saying, oh, you shouldn't take that stuff, it's this and it's that, and maybe it'll harm you, etc., etc. So there's a lot of slander that's surrounding it, but there's people, again, who are kind of walking away because they know better, okay? So there is, of course, controversy that relates to the CBD oil. But in the whole idea is that this can be something that can be a great benefit for the body. Yes, it has been shown to be quite beneficial for the body. It can help to heal diseases, it can help to improve immune system. Okay, and so it's definitely getting a full bell of support here, right? There's a chime, the bell, that is supporting this idea of the CBD oil. Like I said, it's all based on how it's produced, making sure that it's produced properly, right? If people are using recipes for it, then they're making sure that they're doing it properly. But this also represents the idea of rejuvenation, collecting yourself to get back together, feeling a clean bill of health relating to the CBD oil as well too. You want to continue to work with it, right? Because again, as you continue to work with it, your body is going to improve more and more over time. Let's take a look at some advisement here as well too. So I'd say this is the people who are basically going through a great deal of suffering, a great deal of hurt. This can assist you in moving yourself upwards. It takes a little bit of time, but if you decide to use CBD drops in that sense, it could be beneficial, especially for those who may have chronic conditions, who are suffering physically as well too, right? We get a lot of talk over the internet about CBD oil, about CBD drops as well too, and if they are a greatly benefit, there's different strains, so you have to be a little bit more educated for people who are in that industry, who can help you and understand more about the appropriate strains of CBD oil that can be beneficial, right? If you're using the wrong kind of strains, it can also make you feel like this, okay? So please talk to an expert, talk to someone who is a specialist, maybe at a dispensary or something of that nature, who can basically recommend the type of strains. If that's something that you want to get yourself involved with, then you want to basically make sure you're getting the appropriate strain, you want to make sure you're getting the appropriate quote-unquote brand that's appropriate for you to help you heal, okay? But yes, if you have everything properly, this is exactly what this is saying, right? Making sure that you have the proper education, make sure you're getting the right kind of strain for the CBD oil, and you're going to turn yourself around, okay? And that's also what this is saying as well too. Make sure you get the right one, and don't worry so much about people slandering it, because obviously they haven't tried it. Okay, so that's what the cards are telling me regarding CBD oil. All right. Thank you very much for your question, Karina. All right, going down the list here. Okay, this one here is from Elena. Elena says, Brad, I heard that light language and Lemurian can help in personal healing as well to heal others. How can someone remember or access this knowledge? Is that is possible? Okay. Well, you're kind of trailing off into two different things here, right? If you're talking about Lemuria, that's something completely different from light language. Okay. So I think there's a little bit of confusion here. If we're generally looking into light language itself, yes, if it's something that represents a proper transmission. Now, you asked maybe Adronis can help with this, so if you want me to, I can go ahead and bring him through, and he can talk a little bit more about the nature of light language and how it has a particular healing effect. Okay, so let me go ahead and take a moment to bring Adronis in, and he can elaborate on this a little bit further. Okay, here we go. Terra Soul Star Sirius Adronis. We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning into this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. We thank you for the question pertaining to the idea of healing through light language. Is this possible? Is it true that someone can actually tune in, receive the transmission relating to a particular type of light language that can assist and heal the body in different facets, in different ways? Yes, it is fundamentally true. But that depends upon the conduit. You see, you're not just making random noises. You have to genuinely align yourself to the transmission source that is therefore broadcasting this particular transmission representing light language. Now, light language does not also need to just be vocal, which means that light language can be transmitted through stillness. So there are some that may utilize the idea of speaking a language that in that sense is speaking much more to your morphogenic field, that is speaking much more to the material body, that is speaking to the DNA algorithms, that is speaking to your own emotional, mental bodies as well. But it can also be a silent transmission. It does not have to be vocal. It does not have to be, as it were, a chant or a song and in that particular way. For example, if we give you the instance of a vocal demonstration pertaining to light language, such as this is one example of the idea of utilizing light language through the power of sound. And now we will give you a second example. Simply allow yourself to be relaxed, be calm, and just feel the transmission as we put forward the intention of this particular state of light language through those who are willing to participate with us now. Placing your hands in prayer posture, infinite love and blessings to you. That is a second example. So, with both examples that we have shared here, both equate to the nature of light language itself. But this is not something that is randomized. This is not something that's coming from your ego. This is not something that's coming from the conscious self. This is you being able to transmit to a source that you are aware of its connection with. As you are aware with its connection, your body simply functions as the appropriate vessel to enable any appropriation of light language, be it through vocality, be it through the nature of the stillness that you have just witnessed, that represents the significator of transmission, that assists in the direct vibrational wavelength that will assist your body in certain degrees of healing on a DNA level, materialistic level, emotional level, mental level, karmic level, akashic level, light level, soul level, manifestation level, spiritual level. So, this is something that you need to, in a way, be somewhat aware of, so that you are aware that this transmission is coming through. What many of you do is your curiosity gets the best of you. As it gets the best of you, you now start to distract yourself and phase out of the transmission, and you start to lose it. It's like holding an antenna up and making sure that that antenna is nice and straight. And if you start to bend that antenna, you start to lose the integrity of the transmission. You have to understand that this is not coming through your physical body. This is not coming through you yourself as a physical body, as a source. The source is non-localized. It is you being the antenna, being in alignment and feeling and knowing that you are being the transmitter for the light language appropriately in any fashion it desires to come through you as the vessel. That is what we can share in regards to the nature of light language. And for those who receive the transmission will often feel a great lightness coming into them afterwards. It's very important to be aware of what you are feeling altogether relating to light language altogether pertaining to the transmission. But as you work together with getting still, with trusting the source, because you have intended to connect with the source that will provide light language through you, it shall therefore happen. And there are those who are able to do this very naturally. They're natural antennas to receive such a transmission, to assist in the nature of healing altogether. All right? We thank you very much for your question. Goodbye for now. Okay. Great. Thank you very much for your question. And we will go ahead and move on. Thank you, Elena. Okay. Let me just go down the list here a bit more. Okay, this one here again is another question from Elena. Brad, how can we be more accurate discerning? Okay, so I believe the question you're asking is just how can we learn to be a lot more discerning? You're only going to learn through experience, right? If we don't have the experience of knowing that something may not be right for us, we basically have to firstly kind of trip over our own feet and fall to the ground. As we trip over our feet and fall to the ground and realize, okay, that was not for me, I need to take notice of what that experience did to me. Okay. Through experience will you know to discern. Okay? It's kind of like, in that sense, if you are a virgin to a lot of these particular experiences that you have not met, how are you going to discern? You can't. Right? When we start to look into what an experience does to us, and we may discover similar themes to that experience, we naturally learn how to discern. But discernment does not come to the conscious self. Discernment does not come to the ego, because this is what people will do. As you would say, they can become doubting Thomases. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to involve myself with that. That's no way that's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And that no longer becomes discernment. That becomes fear. So there's a difference in what we would call discernment from the idea of being overly skeptical and overly afraid, because that's not true discernment. True discernment relates to the idea that you are bringing about a shining of your own wisdom. Okay? Experience, once you have learned from it, helps you to become wiser. Right? It's you shining a light. So you naturally know how to discern. Discerning is not dismissing. Discerning is not rejecting. Discerning is simply knowing better. Okay? So we're not shooting people down, we're not shooting down ideas, we're not shooting down events or anything like that. We have just learned from wisdom what fits with us and what doesn't. Right? It's like looking at a jigsaw puzzle, and here's a jigsaw puzzle piece. Oh, I know it just doesn't naturally fit in that area of the puzzle. Am I going to throw the piece away? No. I just know it doesn't fit there. And I'm going to scan the puzzle, and maybe intuition will help me out. And so, oh, there it is. Click. And I put the jigsaw puzzle piece where it belongs. The important thing with the nature of discernment is helping you to put the pieces where they belong rather than trying to force them into an area where they don't belong. Okay? And that can be with anything. That can be with friends, that can be with family, that can be with your own personal growth, that can be with your career, that can be with travel, that can be with new relationships, whatever it may be. If we're trying to smash and force a puzzle piece into the area of the puzzle where it doesn't belong, then we're just setting ourselves back further. We're going into a state of fear. We're going into a state of apprehension. We're getting emotional, and that's not discerning. Discerning always comes from neutralization. It comes from you being back in your center, right? Adronis has used this, right? Where you're coming back into your center. And I'm using that a lot more now too. Just being aware, right? Just looking at the puzzle, being aware of it, not attaching to any outcome relating to the puzzle itself. And here I am holding onto the jigsaw puzzle. My intuition is saying, okay, go a little bit more further up left. You see how the shapes are there, how it matches together with the square that you're holding? Oh, yes, I see it. Plop. And there we go. And that's how we fit it in, right? The key here is the nature of surrender, okay? Surrender helps you to completely just let go of everything. Now, basically what a lot of common circles will do, especially in neuro-linguistic programming circles as well, is they say that when you have a particular problem, you want to try and transmute it. You want to try and transmute the problem. And we can certainly do that, but that's not the greatest way to go about it. The greatest way to go about the idea of you transmuting, in that sense, is really to go beyond it and move into the nature of surrender. What surrendering does is it opens up all of the infinite doors of possibilities surrounding that subject, surrounding that situation, surrounding that event. If I feel like, okay, I have such negative stuff here, I'm going to transmute it and turn it into a positive, okay, I could do that, but that's still only opening about one or two more doors. I'm still forming expectations on that positive outcome. I'm not looking at all of the infinite doors down the hallway that remain open. And the only way I'm going to let all of those infinite hallways or infinite doors down the hallway remain open is if I surrender. Okay? The true discernment is to surrender. The true discernment is the greatest wisdom, and that is to completely surrender to what you are going through. Even though when I describe the nature of surrender to a lot of people, they still don't get it, right? Brad, are you saying that I have to give up? Are you saying that I have to relinquish everything? You have to say that I'm trying to run away and blah, 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 right? I've talked about this before. But the true nature of surrender is to simply drop the pen, okay? There's nothing to it. And it's the simplest of simple things to do. When we're faced with a situation where we're battling in our mind to find out what I should do, what I should do, what I should do, I would often say to a person, how about you take a deep breath in and you surrender it, just like we've been demonstrating with Shaogong, right? We surrender, we release, 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 and you're completely at peace with that whole ordeal. And now you let itself sort itself out in all the infinite ways that it can come into your life. Now that you've surrendered to it, now that you've given it peace, it's like a breath of fresh air comes over you. Rather than the idea of say, okay, I'll just transmute that. I'll transmute that negative into a positive. Yeah, but what if this happens? But what if that happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? That's what happens when you try to transmute. Don't get me wrong, there are certain things that we can do to transmute that can be quite beneficial. But if you are basically stuck within a very heavy ordeal where you're trying to say, oh, well, even if I turn a negative into a positive, what is this still going to do? Because turning into a negative into a positive is not going to resolve the pattern. Okay? So on the surface, on the face of things, if this is something that's very, very negative and I'm trying to turn it into something very positive, okay, I'll do that. Okay, there we go. I've turned something positive, but here's another negative right here. Because you're still dealing with polarity. Okay? Here's the negative. Here's the positive. Okay, I'll change that. What happens? Here's the positive. Here's the negative. Okay? You cannot rely on freeing yourself from working together with a state of polarity. So again, as good as transmutation is, and like I said, there is a place for transmutation, that's not resolving your situation because you're looking at the face of an event and you're not looking at the heart behind it. There is a pattern, there is an algorithm that exists behind the scenes about why this situation is even coming into your life, but you're only looking at it at face value, and that's not going to resolve it. We have to remember of the algorithm that is in the background, the very pattern that has brought this forward into your life, because it's a pattern you're not seeing. You're only trying to completely resolve a state of an event, right? This is why I say it's not important for you to forgive anybody, okay? When you surrender, you are already in that natural state of forgiveness. So the key to clearing out that algorithm is what? Surrender. That's all that you have to do. When you surrender, not only do those faces start to drop away, but the algorithm in the background levels out. Everything gets absorbed into the self. And now you're no longer battling. You're no longer fighting anymore. The true nature of discernment in its greatest, wisest way that we can express is through the nature of surrender. Okay? So, hope that answers your question, Elena. Thank you. All right, let's go down the list here. This one is from Twin Twix. Question: how can one connect more with their immortal self or pure consciousness? That's a great question, Twin Twix. Thank you for asking that. So to connect with your immortal self, well, first we have to understand what the immortal self is. Does anybody know what the immortal self or the immortal consciousness is? I've kind of already answered the question just by asking the question. Does anybody know what the immortal self or the immortal pure consciousness self is? Or Brad, it's the last word that you used. I-S. It's is. You already are immortal. You already are pure consciousness. You are already awareness. But the mistake that we make is we try to identify immortality, eternity, immortality, infinite nature, all of it together with an object. Okay? So you're taking that which is immortal, eternal, infinite, and you're trying to place it with some type of concept. You're not looking at the subject, and you're looking at the object. All right, so how can I turn this cylinder into something immortal? You can't. It's an object. It's a form. And an object and a form has an expiry date. It comes and it goes. An object can never be immortal. Okay? Everything in the mind can never be immortal because it can never be permanent. It will always come and it will always go. So, looking into the nature of what you truly are as consciousness, as awareness, as the immortal self, it's for you to know that you are. As I know myself to be, so am I. Okay? Whenever we're putting ness on something, that represents the term plus its beingness. If I'm looking at consciousness, I'm looking at conscious beingness. If I'm looking at isness, I'm looking at that which is in beingness. Okay? If I'm looking at immortality or immortalness, okay, that which is immortal in beingness, coming together. Okay? So the nature of immortality, eternity, pure consciousness, the immortal self, this is already what you are. You are already all of that. Okay? So really to look in the nature of the immortal self is for you to what? What am I doing? Staying in center, being in center. To know that I do not need a body to tell me that I am immortal, because this body is not immortal. I do not need a mind to tell me that I am immortal, because this mind doesn't understand the infinite. Go ahead, guys, and try to perceive the infinite through the mind. You can't do it. Right? through the body. Can you look at the nature of immortality or infinite nature through the body? You can't. It's a finite form. Okay? Anything that's finite, anything that's an object, anything that's a shape, a color, anything of that nature that we can identify through conception is an impermanent thing. The only permanence is that which you cannot identify, but you are. Okay? When I say that you are pure consciousness, that is what you are. Consciousness does not exist. Consciousness simply is. It is isness, right? Is as beingness. Okay? So remember that when you put the ness, N-E-S-S, together, it is through that beingness that that which represents that subject is. Consciousness, eternalness, right? Knowingness. It all comes through being. So therefore, as I surrender, what am I doing? I am being my beingness. And that is what lasts. That's what's permanent. When you strip away the body, when you strip away the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings, the sensations, the events, the objects, the mind, what remains? You. You simply as you are. Eternal. You are awareness. Okay? Awareness does not rely upon an object for it to be aware. Awareness is simply aware. It is always shining. It is always radiating. Okay? It's radiating awareness. All right? So an object is not awareness. Awareness is awareness. An object is not consciousness. Consciousness is consciousness. An object is not the self. The self is the self. Okay? That is understanding true immortality, true eternity. It comes through the nature of realizing who and what you truly are. Pure consciousness, pure beingness, pure immortality, pure infinite nature. That's you. You are already immortal. You don't need to go seeking for something that you already are. It's that we've been caught up in a trance. We're in a trance in this body, thinking, oh, how do I make this body immortal? You can't. It's not possible. We can give it longevity, right? We can start shifting it, and we can start changing it to the point where we can feel like we're in better health with it. But that will still come to an end at some point. As long as something is born in the mind, it will come and it will go. It doesn't matter if it lasts 100 million years. Okay? It's still going to come and go because it's not pure consciousness. Right? Pure consciousness can use that body any way it wishes. Pure consciousness knows that body, but the body does not know pure consciousness, right? If we're looking at an ocean and we see waves, are those waves separate from the ocean? Are those waves even a different thing? No, it's the ocean, it's water, right? If we're looking at ice caps, right? We're looking at icebergs. Is that different from the water? No, it's still water, okay? So we're looking at ice, we're looking at water. Oh, well, here's ice and here's water. No, you cannot differentiate the two. It is water, right? The ocean is the ocean. It does not matter how many waves there are because the waves themselves are not independent of themselves. It's only the water. It's only the ocean, right? But this is what we're trying to convince ourselves. Oh, I'm the wave. I'm the wave on the ocean. You're the ocean. What are you talking about? It's just water. You're pure consciousness. Doesn't matter if you shape yourself into a wave, you're still pure consciousness. Okay? Pure consciousness is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. But if you identify yourself as a form, you feel that you are devoid of those three things. And that would be incorrect. You already are eternal, immortal, and you will always be. All right? Thank you for your question, Twin Twigs. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, another question here from Elena. That's a little bit different, but it's kind of similar to the topic that she was asking before. Brad, how can we discern when an idea we have or an answer we requested is coming from our ego mind or is from our intuition or higher self, okay? So basically the best way to answer that question is to demonstrate it, okay? I want you guys to look at something that has really frustrated you in the past, whatever it is. Maybe it's something that happened recent, maybe it's something that happened a fair time ago, maybe it's something you're going back to in your youth. I want you to look at an event that caused you a great deal of frustration, okay? As you look at that frustrating event, I want you to imagine, how would the ego respond to that? How would the ego respond to that? You should be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. What if you do this? What if you do that? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? What if this takes place? Etc., etc. What happens? You're spinning the web of more and more confusion, of more and more despair, of more and more emotions. All right, I want you to look at that for a minute. Okay? So, what is the ego doing? It's taking a little flame and it's turning it into an inferno. Okay? Because this is something that I've gotten for years. People telling me constantly, Brad, how do I know what I'm getting is actually the higher self or it's the ego? What is the advice doing to you? Right? If I say I should combat this, I should fight this, I should be doing this or I should be doing that, what's happening to the event? How is it making you feel? I feel more hurt inside. Feels like it's injuring me a lot more as I'm constantly contemplating on something that's frustrating me. And that's not the higher self. That's not your true self. Okay? Now, let's take a look at that same frustrating situation, and I want you just to witness it. I don't want you to do anything to it. I want you to just look at it like it's this flame, and I want you just to witness it. Which means you're not bringing anything pertaining to ego, pertaining to emotion, pertaining to concept, pertaining to mind upon it at all. You're just witnessing it and you're letting it be. You're just letting it be in observation with yourself. What's happening to the hand? It shrinks. My friends, that's the higher self. Okay? It is not here to feed your ego. The only reason we feel that we get confused with the ego is because we feel like we have to do something. Here's a problem, I need to do something about it. No, you don't. What? What do you mean what do you mean I don't? There's a big problem here. There's a lighting inferno. It's going crazy. It's going haywire. I need to do something. I should do this. I should do that. I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. I should pile more stuff on top of this. I should take care of this. I need to move into this and blah, 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 blah. And what happens? Becomes that raging inferno. Because you're too busy with doingness rather than beingness, right? You're using your beingness to do. I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to work around the problem, and I got to externalize. Okay? You are externalizing your problem. That is ego 101. Ego is all about that. It doesn't know how to settle. It doesn't know how to calm. It doesn't know how to come to center. Like I said, the ego is nothing more than an obstruction shadow, right? And so through that shadow, you're looking at the obstruction, preventing yourself from knowing who you really are. You do not see yourself as the true self. You see yourself as the separate ego, as a separate self. And it wants to try and resolve issues by externalizing everything. It wants to try and change everything around itself outside, externally. And what is that going to do? That's going to stoke the fire. That's going to create a raging inferno. Rather, when I listen to the higher self, what is it doing? Just witness. Just witness. Just observe. Just see it for what it is and do nothing more. And surrender, 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 and come to center. What happens to the fire? It's snuffed out. Just as I've been teaching you guys. Shaogong. Surrender, release, release, release. Release ball method. Putting it all into the ball. Letting it go. Observing, witnessing, 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 witnessing. And as I observe, as I witness, I'm surrendering. Letting it all go. Letting it all go. Letting it go. Yep, it's completely released. Let it go. Okay? Prana transmission. Just doing the Om chanting right here. Om, Om, it's shrinking away. Om is being that sound of surrender. And now it's completely fading away. Everything that you're doing through that instance is the property of the higher self, because it acts beyond the mind. Okay? It is the action beyond the mind, beyond and behind it, that shrinks down that situation and snuffs it out, because it's being absorbed into yourself. It's being absorbed back into the source. And that is what the higher self will always instruct you to do. It will not say, oh, should you look at this? Should you look at that? Should you look at this? Should you look at that? A lot of people think that's the higher self, but that's not. Okay? If the higher self is not teaching you to surrender, it's not the higher self. The higher self is not telling you to go here. It's not the higher self. The higher self is not teaching you to internalize. It's not the higher self. The higher self says you need to do this, do that, do the other thing, do the other thing, do the other thing, do the other thing. It's not the higher self. It's the ego masquerading as what you think is the higher self. The higher self will always teach you to come here. It will always tell you to surrender. It will always tell you to be at the peace of yourself. Be within. Be inside peace. And if I'm not there, then that is the ego putting on a show, masquerading, convincing you, thinking that that's the higher self. Okay? The higher self's entire essence is the nature of surrender. And if we do not have that, then that's just us going crazy with the ego. Okay? So to answer your question, Elena, how can we discern an idea or have an answer we requested is coming from the ego or the higher self? Right? So the answer itself is quite simple. When you surrender to the question, the answer comes. Right? The only reason you have a hard time trying to get a clarity of something is because you're still attached to the question. When I ask a question to Source, when I ask it to God, I want to let that question go at the same time I ask it. When I no longer hold on to the attachment of that question, the answer now therefore shows itself. Do you see how surrender reveals the great clarity to anything that you want to know? It's exactly how I'm able to share the kind of information I have with you guys, because I'm not attached to your questions. Even when I notice I have a burning question, I'll say the question, and then I'll cut the cord. And I'll let that question go. And now the clarity to what that question is comes, just like that. And this happens to me all the time. I ask a question, oh, how does this happen? How is that going to take place? And I remember I cut the cord, and at the same moment from within, the answer is there. And it's perfect clarity. There doesn't even need to be a follow-up. Do you know why we have follow-ups to questions, guys? Because we're still attached to the question. You're still attached to the question, and as long as you're attached to the question, you're never going to feel satisfied. It's when you know to cut the cord at the same time that you are asking the question. How is it that I can do this? Cut. The clarity comes. All of a sudden you bring about a synchronicity within your life that answers your question with such great clarity that you're blown away by it, whether it's through somebody else or through it's yourself, or through an event, or whatever it may be. Okay? You are able to surrender your question to let the clarity come. There's nothing wrong with asking a question, guys. I mean, that's all part of why we're here. But make sure that you are releasing your question at the same time that you're saying it. And now the clarity comes. This is how spirit operates, my friends. Okay? Spirit is not going to answer something that you're holding on to. Okay? You may get a little bits of tidbits here and there, right? And it's something that may not even satisfy you. Or it just says surrender and let go. Oh, well, but I already know that. I already know about surrendering and letting go. But I want to know the answer to this question, right? And you're still attaching to it. And that's where we get confused. That's where we get frustrated. That's where we get upset. Nobody's answering my question because you won't let go of the question. Say the question, let it go. Let the clarity come, and it will. Because it will come through people, places, events, or things. It can come within yourself. Synchronicity will provide the answer when you let it. The greatest clarity that will represent the answer to your question will come when you let it. Okay? That is so important to remember. When you're looking at source consciousness, when you're looking at spirit, when you're looking at God, you're posing your questions to God. Don't hang on to your questions. Completely release them, completely surrender to them as soon as you're done. I'm not saying detach from them, because if we're detaching them, we're trying to run away from our questions. We don't want to run away from our questions. It's important that you guys are asking these questions. It's very important. But at the same time, you're learning to surrender to them afterwards. And now the clarity comes in. Okay? So, Elena, hope that answers your question. Surrender to your questions after you ask them. Then let the clarity come. All right? Thank you. Okay, this one here is from Maria. Maria says, question, maybe for Adronis also. Was Lemuria a civilization here on Earth, or is it a planet in a far away galaxy? Thank you. Okay, interesting question there. So why don't I bring Adronis in for this one? One moment. We have some questions for Lemuria today. Very interesting. All right, let's take a look. Let's see what Adronis serves. So remember, we cut the cord. As soon as you ask that question, whoosh, clarity comes. Here we go. Let's take a look. We thank you very much, Maria, for your question. Relating to the nature of what you term as Lemuria. Now, you have to understand that Lemuria was the space that represented a civilization that existed in the Indian Sea. All right? It is not to what you would term as Mu, M-U. M-U is completely different. So when you're looking at Mu and when you're looking at Lemuria, you're looking at two different places. You're looking at a civilization that existed upon a small continent that existed within the Indian Ocean. When you're looking at Mu, you're looking at a much larger continent, really not that much smaller in comparison to your own continent of Africa. They are two entirely different places. So when you're looking at the nature of Lemuria, the word we would ask you to think of would be Vedic. Is to look at a civilization that was, as you would say, highly Vedic. That was all about the nature of scripture. And that was all about the nature of union. Right? So, if we're offering you the nature of the Vedic, and we're offering you the idea of union or yoga, that is really what this civilization is all about. Now, the Lemurian civilization, as you understand it, is native to the earth. There is no other civilization quite like that one. Are there similar situations or civilizations that exist throughout the galaxy that can represent a mere reflection of such a civilization? Yes, of course. But what is established upon your planet is uniquely yours. What is uniquely established upon the earth is uniquely the earth's expression. So it cannot be the idea of something that's duplicated or identical in that way. But when you're looking into the nature of the Lemurian civilization, they were all about the nature of the Vedic lifestyle. They were all about the nature in regards to union, to yoga. They worked together in building sophisticated advanced technologies that would be similar to what you would know as your Angkor Wat. That would be similar to other particular ancient temples and ancient civilizations where they had what you would term as aqueducts, or in that sense, plumbing as well too. They were able to cultivate food with great fertility. In fact, we would say that much of their crops that they produced were quite ginormous in size. You would actually look at the idea of squashes being big enough to hold that could be in excess of 15 to 20 pounds. You would have a very fertile land, and that this fertile land produced a great deal of crops. Everybody shared with each other. It was very community oriented, and it was all about giving back to the earth. It was a very, very different type of civilization than what you would be used to today. It was the idea that everything functioned together through tribes and clans, and that everybody worked together through these natures of tribes and clans, and they would even share with other tribes and clans. It was very much a community-centered civilization. That is the nature of the Lemurians themselves, and much in regards to their complexion would range into the idea to which you would know as Indian, what you would understand as the East Indian, and there is also from what you would know as the Oriental. They would basically share much of the space pertaining to Lemuria at that time. There were, as you would also understand, as certain prehistoric animals that were also part of the Lemurian civilization, going back into certain forms of modifications that you would understand as dinosaurs. And they would actually use these dinosaurs often for tending farms, building civilization all together where they were assisting. There was a harmony. There was also less of a predatory presence upon Lemuria in the earlier times. Later times, it started to become a little bit more apparent, but in the earlier times, everything was much more in equilibrium with itself. It was not so much in that sense of having predatory animals upon that land at that time. Again, that only really happened later on through the idea of the invitation of other civilizations coming upon the land, and therefore them bringing upon, shall we say, other particular forms of predatory creatures that therefore formed equilibrium with the land, where it started to move forward into dualistic times. But the nature of the Lemurian civilization in its earlier times was very harmonized. It was very community-based. It was all about Vedic union, Vedic yoga. That is what we can share in regards to the ancient history pertaining to Lemuria within the Indian Ocean. All right? We thank you very much for your question. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Maria, for your question. So I think we're going to take one more question, guys, and we're going to go into an inner practice, and then we're going to do some distance healing. Okay, so get your distance healing questions ready here very quickly. So one more question, then we'll move on. Okay, I think we'll end with this final question here from Aqua Sendra. Okay, Aqua Sendra asked, question to Adronis: is there any bit of knowledge or practice that you can share in order to improve and regain our spiritual powers like levitation or telekinesis? Okay, one moment. Adronis will come in and share some insight on that. Spiritual powers like levitation or telekinesis, can we improve that? Can we bring that knowledge and practice back into ourselves? Okay, here we go. We thank you very much for your question. As it pertains to what you would commonly refer to as your extrasensory perceptions, again, many of them we refer to them also as siddhas, or again, psychic prowesses. Many of you already have the capability of what you're asking for. But the whole idea is that you're not wired appropriately to allow those particular types of conditions to come forward, because you have basically, in that sense, made yourselves much more docile to the nature of modern living, which means that your own nature of modern living does not bring about the complement to something that is beyond the docile nature that would require you to bring forward extrasensory perceptions for those purposes, which means that you have acclimatized yourself to such a docile nature that those particular patterns within the brain have been rendered dormant. So therefore, as you decide to expand your daily living, that would constitute the nature of allowing and enabling those extrasensory perceptions to fundamentally serve a function within your daily life. The whole idea is that yourself, you don't decide to really utilize them, unless you actually grant something alongside yourself that is complementary to that purpose. You see, it's not really necessary for many of you to levitate and try to fly in the air. You may think it's just a fascinating endeavor. You may feel it would be a fascinating practice, but you really haven't taken it seriously to where you could incorporate that in daily life. Because nowadays, in your modern society, you would have people with their phones filming a flying person. And that would give you attention that you really would not want. don't you think? It's not to say that you cannot activate these, but your environment is not complementary to these abilities that you feel you want to acquire, because your acquirement of these abilities is much more in nature of a curiosity at best. You're actually not really committed to having these abilities. If you were, you would continue to do it, and you would move yourself into an environment that's complementary for those abilities to shine through you. Many of you don't. You're just curious. Because here's what will happen. If we were to snap our fingers to one of you, and all of a sudden all of these patterns now start to come online, and you can now fly in the air, you can levitate, you can now start moving objects through the power of your magnetism. You can start repelling and attracting them. After a certain amount of time, you would actually panic. You would panic. Because you're seeing how everybody else looks at you. When you are moving objects with your magnetism, when you are floating, levitating, flying in the air, what would happen if you introduced that to many people around you? What would you do when your family sees that? What would you do when your friends see that? What would you do when your neighbors see that? They would be frightened of you. They would be scared to death of you. And you would have such a gaping hole of division between you and them that they would almost see you as a type of freakish oddity. And you will now feel like the abilities you once thought were quite interesting would now be a curse, because now you can't get rid of them again. They're simply remaining together with you, where you can levitate objects, where you can levitate yourself. You have basically frightened your entire neighborhood. Oh, but Adronis, I'd keep this secret, I keep this secret. No, because it's going to get out at some particular way, because you have this all the time. This is why we say that your environment does not complement the abilities that you feel you would like to attain. That's why many of you don't. You are comfortable in living in the environment you have that would not complement that nature of extrasensory perception. That's why it's not there. You have made yourselves docile to those abilities. But when you go off into the indigenous areas of your planet, it is not uncommon for certain members of the tribe to be able to perform certain abilities of that nature, because the tribe in question is much more acclimatized to seeing such things. That's a different climate. That's a different environment. That's a different equilibrium pertaining to something that can be complementary, relating to those abilities. But your modern Western world is not at all acclimatized to that. They're not used to seeing that. You will scare people. And you will be in deep dread by trying to activate those things. You see, it's not impossible for you to activate those certain things. But the whole idea is that it would be premature of you to do so based on where you are in environment, based on your connections, based on yourself and how you conduct your life. That's why you don't have it. Your environment is not complementary to that ability, and that's why it's dormant. That's why you have made yourself docile, relating to where you are environmentally, where you are through your connections, through your circles, that it is not really the idea of something that you want to commit to. You're more curious than anything else. You just want to go in the shopping market and you want to sample these things. Oh, that's neat. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, turn it off now. Can't. What? We can't turn it off. Once it's open, it's open. You can't turn it off. Well, how am I going to live this way if I'm levitating these objects and I'm flying over the place? You're right. You have been premature of that decision. Because now you're going to get a lot of eyes on you, and you are going to get a lot of unwanted attention from people that are going to want to utilize your abilities for their own selfish means. It is not the appropriate environment for you to move into such things, for you to have such extrasensory perception abilities. It's very different if you're living in indigenous areas of the planet, where that is much more acceptable. You have to think about these things. Many of you just want to sample. You want just a little taste of floating, a little taste of flying. But can you live with it for the rest of your life? We don't think so. Because you're not in the right environment for that. Unless you actually say goodbye to your Western world and you go off into the bush, and you go off into the forest, and you may meet others who are much more accepting of what you now have. That's really what it comes down to. So the nature of your question does not come to the idea of saying, Adronis, can I develop these abilities? Yes, you can. Are you willing to live these abilities out and through for the rest of your life? No, I'm not. Because that's what many of you will say. You may say, oh yeah, Adronis, I'll do it. No, you won't. No, you won't. You are going to be haunted by other people's fear of you. They are going to see you as a freak. That they will not be able to build rapport with you, and you are going to go through great states of loneliness trying to bring about that ESP. Just because you're curious, just because it's a desire. Now, if you truly want to let this come in the natural way is through the nature of surrender. The natural way is being able to clean your slate entirely so that this ability is humbled through you. This is why we say many of you are seeking this prematurely and it will destroy you. Whereas when you are aligning with this in a natural, harmonious way, you will become humbled by such abilities. And you will naturally know where to go and what to do. You will naturally know how to turn it on and off, because only the mature will know how to do that. The premature will not. They will be in such great states of suffering that many of them will actually take their lives. Why do you think many of the people that are in your own asylums can do some of these special things? Do you know what they're thinking? They want to just find some way to kill themselves. Because they are very telepathic, they are telekinetic, but now they are basically in straitjackets in rubber rooms. Because they are a danger to themselves and to others. They're in institutions, many of them. And they have basically been subjected to such heavy states of medication that is attempting to numb those pathways. But even through the regeneration of themselves, those abilities can come back. That's exactly what you're looking forward to if you do this prematurely. And we do not recommend that. So we cannot advise you in regards to activating that prematurely, because that would be detrimental to yourselves. It needs to come through its own natural harmony of humility. And this is why many yogis and many other forms of students that want to learn of the ancient ways will work to discipline themselves so that they are not so out of control relating to their emotional and mental states. And so many of you are fragile that you will literally destroy yourselves by activating severe states of extrasensory perception or SIDA abilities prematurely to where it will completely destroy your life because you're not ready for it. You just want to sample it. And that is not what it's for. That is not what it's about. It needs to come through maturity. It needs to come through humility. And there are those in the world who are already born with these natural abilities, and they don't know what to do. Because at some particular point of their life stream, they have activated these things prematurely. And they come back lifetime after lifetime, realizing that they have these things, but not knowing what to do. They need to seek guidance with one who is mature that can guide them through. And just as Brad taught you, through the question, let it be cut so the clarity of the answer can come. And they will receive the help that they need. But it is not about you trying to activate these things just for curiosity. That is the wrong idea. And that is the wrong way. And we will not support you with such an ordeal. It needs to come through the natural, disciplined, humble way of being. For those of you who have not have it activated, it needs to be brought forward in a state of humility. And for those of you who do have such abilities, cut the clarity to the question, cut the cord of the question so that the clarity itself can come, so that the teacher can arrive for you. We thank you for your questions. Okay, great. That was a great question to end on. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to inner practices. Then we'll get into distance healing. Okay, so Aquacendra, thank you for your great question there. All right, so we're going to do another inner practice today. Last week, we did the Shaogong as well too, okay? So in this practice this week, we're just going to focus a little bit more on Hakalao, okay? We're going to focus more on being aware, okay? And that's basically what our practice is being expansive, moving into states of bliss while being aware, okay? So very simple practice is just taking your fingers and just moving them off into your peripheral vision, okay? So making sure that you can see the left index finger on the left side of your peripheral, the right side of your index finger in your right side of your peripheral. And I want you just to look forward. Okay? You can even see if there's a spot on the wall, but you're not really focusing on that spot. You're being aware of the index fingers in your peripheral vision. So I want you just to be aware of that now. Just be aware of the peripherals. Okay, and bring the index fingers down. And now as you're looking ahead, I want you just to be aware of what's on the left side, what's on the right side, but you're taking it all in at the same time. It's like you're absorbing everything that you're seeing, and you're absorbing it into yourself now. And now I want you to go to your sense of hearing. And I want you to take in everything that you're hearing, absorbing it into yourself now. Now I want you to go into your sense of smell, all right? So you may be smelling something, or even you're just following your breath, absorbing the breath, absorbing the sense of smell into yourself now. Now we're going into the sense of touch. Everything that we're touching and everything that's touching us, absorbing that into yourself now. And now going into your sense of taste, maybe tasting your saliva. Just being aware of everything that you are tasting, absorbing that into yourself now. And now I want you to be aware of all 5 senses, simultaneously, all at once, absorbing all of that into yourself now. All right, last practice is I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to simply be aware of everything that is behind you. Being aware of everything that is behind you without moving your physical head to see what's behind you. I want you just to be aware of what is behind you now. And very last thing is being able to be aware of your entire space 360 degrees. Like you have 360-degree awareness, because you do. And that is what you are observing now. 360 degrees, all at the same time, of your environment now. And take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And ask yourself, were there any thoughts coming into my mind when I was absorbing my own physical senses into me? Probably not. Okay? Because you're absorbing your sight, you're absorbing your hearing, you're absorbing your smell, you're absorbing your taste, you're absorbing your touch, you're also absorbing everything pertaining to the awareness of what's behind you. You're also absorbing the awareness of everything that is 360 degrees around you. Your awareness is there, and it's not on thoughts. Okay? So this is, again, a common practice, Hawaiian tradition of hakalau. Right? This is also a type of NLP, in a way. Okay? So you're just basically learning how to keep your mind completely quiet. Okay? There are other certain forms of techniques in yoga that can also help you with this. Some of it is also just the idea of just staring at a dot that is directly in front of you. This is what they call tritaka. And you're just staring at a dot directly in front of you. And you try not to blink, right? But I wouldn't suggest doing that for long periods of times, because it can actually strain your eyes. But you basically just hold it on for like a minute, and just being able to see a little dot on a white sheet of paper, and you're just staring at that dot, maybe for about a minute. And then as you do that more and more over time, you start to stretch the time a little bit more, and you're now completely in a zero thought state. Your mind is completely quiet. Okay? Another simple example is just being able to work with the breath. So we're doing heart rate variability, okay? As we're doing Ujjayi pranayama, as we're doing Nadi Shodhana pranayama, alternate nostril breathing, okay? These are some examples of how we're stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, as we're bringing ourselves into somewhat of a lowered heart rate, our pulse is naturally lower. Our blood pressure can also be lower, because there is also blood pressure breath exercises that you can do as well too, where your body is much more in a lower idle state, so that you are now completely still in the mind, surrendering, you're still, and you're silent. And that's how you go into the deepest state. I wouldn't even call it meditation. That's just basically, as I would call, the state of surrender. You're going into surrender, which is beyond meditation. Okay? Meditation still requires an object. Okay? We're going beyond the nature of meditation, and we're simply coming into the nature of surrender. As you continue to practice this more and more, you're naturally able to go there, where there's no form of exercise-based breathing or exercise-based stilling of the mind, right? You're just naturally there. Okay? It's not to say not to use these exercises. I would say if your mind is quite unstable and you're constantly thinking a mile a minute, you want to use these exercises to stabilize the mind. By stabilizing the mind, I mean you're keeping it quiet. The mind just goes quiet. It's completely blank, right? And your body is completely still. As your body is completely still, you're basically just afloat in your own awareness. And through that, that is where there is peace. That is where there is pure bliss. All right? Okay, guys, now we're going to go ahead and move on into the final part, which is distance healing. Okay? So if anybody here has some distance healing requests, we can basically take about 3 volunteers, and then we'll do a group healing, and then we're going to wrap up the broadcast for today. Okay, let's go down the list here a bit more. Okay. So, do we have any requests for healing right now? Either for yourself or for somebody else. I'm just looking down the list. It looks like there's still more questions for the Q&A. Just seeing if anybody has any requests for distance healing. Maybe I have to look back up. Okay, this one here is from Anna. Thanks for the donation, Anna. Hi, Brad. I would like healing for my immune system and lymphatic system because I have been having colds on and off since December. Thank you so much. Okay, so Anna, we'll go ahead and work on your immune system and lymphatic system altogether, strengthening them altogether. All right. So Anna, right now, just go ahead and get yourself nice and relaxed, making sure your spine is nice and straight. And we're just going to place our hands upon the center of our chest just like this. We're going to take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Placing the hands in prayer posture. Feeling the heart opening up like a blossoming flower. And feel all the light from the heart coming in between the palms. And now just being able to slowly expand the palms out as you breathe in and breathe out, making that light as bright and shining as you can, letting it permeate the vast cosmos. And when your hands are fully extended, you're just slowly bringing them back. As you're slowly bringing them back, saying to yourself, I completely believe that the healing that I shall receive will heal me. Okay? So we will work with your immune system and lymphatic system. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Anna, you're just stretching your hands out once again, and you're just slowly bringing the light back into yourself towards the heart. As you're doing this, you're just saying, God is bringing me to center. God is bringing me to center. God is bringing me to center. And just bring your hands back into the center of your chest. Just feel the heart sealing itself back up. And take another deep breath in and a deep breath out. Okay, the work has been done. Thank you very much, Anna, for volunteering. Blessings to you, and thank you. So keep an eye on yourself over the next few days. You'll notice that your entire body is going to start getting revitalized, right? Brought back to center. Right, thank you very much. Okay, going down the list here a bit more. Okay, I'll just pick one moment here, guys. Okay, here's one from Faye. Actually, so let me go back to CAW. CAW has one in request for healing fear, and then I'll get to Faye. So just CAW and Faye, then we'll do a group healing, okay? So CAW says, yes, please, healing fear. So for CAW, they want to have a healing for fear. So CAW, I can't really tell if you're male or female, so I'll just refer to you by your name, CAW. Okay, so I want you just to have your spine nice and straight right now, placing your hands upon the center of your chest. And taking a deep breath in, deep breath out. Placing your hands in prayer posture. Opening up the heart, feeling the heart light coming in between the palms. And expanding the hands out, expanding out the light, letting that permeate the entire cosmos. Bringing your hands back as you're doing so, just saying to yourself, I completely believe that the healing that I shall receive will heal me. Okay, we will go ahead now and begin. CAW, just stretching out your hands and just bringing the light slowly back into yourself. Just saying to yourself, God is bringing me to center. God is bringing me to center. God is bringing me to center. Okay, depositing all that light back into the heart. Then the heart seal itself back up and going back in. And deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, very good. So, you can check in with me if you want to in the next few days. Let me know how you're feeling. All right. Like I said, some people can feel this right away. Some people it can take a little bit more time. I'd say between now and 7 days. Okay, so you can always let me know in between that time. All right, let's go down to, actually I think I missed a person here, to Jasper D201. Let me go to Jasper D201, then I'll go to, let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, so Faye and Jasper. Okay, I'll do those two. So Faye will be here, and then Jasper, you will be next, okay? And then we'll go to grouping. So Faye Robbins says, hi Brad, can you send healing to my husband? He had shoulder surgery Tuesday. Thank you. Okay, so I'll just refer to him as Faye's husband. All right. So he has shoulder surgery. I'm not too sure which shoulder he has, so I think we'll just work on which shoulder it's caused by. So we'll basically just work on both shoulders, okay? So we'll do that now. And if you want to send some loving healing in the background for him, you can. Anybody else who wants to as well can also do so. All right, so just a moment now as I connect with your husband's higher self, just to be present with me now. Okay, he is present with me now. Now we'll just be working with his higher self. His higher self knows exactly what to do. All right, we'll begin. We're just stretching out the hands, bringing all the light back into the heart. I completely believe that the healing that I shall receive shall heal me. God is bringing me back to center. God is bringing me back to center. God is bringing me back to center. Feeling all of that light coming back into the heart. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And it is done. Okay. So, Faye, feel free to check in with your husband. Like I said, between now and the next 7 days, we're going to see some big effects taking place with him that will help him with his shoulder recovery. All right? Thank you very much. Okay, last person will be Jasper D201. Okay? So Jasper asks, "Hi Brad, request for clearing any bacteria and sanitizing the body, the bones, teeth, and brightening my eyes, my heart, my nervous system." You're asking for quite a bit here, Jasper, okay? So how about we just work together with the bodily systems today, okay? I should probably just say single requests only, guys. That's a lot of stuff that you're asking for, Jasper, okay? So let's just work with the bodily system, which includes your body, your bones, your teeth, okay? Your nervous system, okay? We'll work with the bodily systems. I think that will help you as well. And the energy systems. So bodily systems, energy systems, nervous system, circulatory system, digestive system, okay, musculoskeletal systems, etc. We'll work on those, okay? All right, so get yourself nice and comfortable, nice and relaxed. Placing your hands upon the center of your chest. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, placing your hands in prayer posture. Okay, bringing the heart light out as your heart opens up like a flower. Placing all of that heart light in between your palms. Expanding them out as you breathe in and breathe out. permeating all that light to the vast cosmos, and just slowly bringing it back. Saying to yourself, I completely believe that the healing that I shall receive will heal me. Okay? We'll work on your bodily systems for this healing. Here we go. Jasper, just stretching out your hands, bringing all that light back into yourself. As you do, just saying to yourself, God is bringing me to center. God is bringing me to center. God is bringing me to center. Bringing all that light back into the heart, feeling the heart seal itself back up. And deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, so I just did a major flushing away of all the debris within your bodily systems and within your energy systems, also balancing out your somatic and psychosomatic conditions within your body as well too. Okay, so between now, next 7 days, if you want to say how you're doing to me, you certainly can. To do that, guys, just go to newearthteachings.com, go to the contact page, you can drop me a message there. All right, thank you, guys. So we're going to do our group healing, then we're going to wrap up today's broadcast. All right, so what I want you guys to do right now, for those of you who want to join me, is just go ahead and scan your body, right? So just imagine like a green beam is just coming down the top of your head and slowly just scanning horizontally down the body. And I want you just to be aware of any physical, mental, or emotional debris that may come up as you're scanning your body, going all the way down to the bottom of the feet. Okay, as you do that, just being aware of some of the pockets, of some of the areas that you feel are compromised. Okay, so if I'm feeling frustrated, if I'm feeling angry, maybe I'm feeling that in the heart, maybe I'm feeling that in the brain, maybe I'm feeling that in the stomach, wherever it may be. Just kind of being aware of these pockets of where they are all together. Okay, you don't have to worry about gathering them or anything of that nature. Okay, you're just being aware of where they are in the body. Okay, and I'm just going to be guiding you through the process of how we can clean them out completely, because it does involve the power of surrender. Okay, so now that you have given yourself a scan, just placing your hands now upon the center of your chest, taking a deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, opening up your heart, feeling the heart blossoming like a flower, putting all of that white light in between your palms as your palms are now in prayer posture, and expanding that light out. As you breathe in, as you breathe out, expanding that light so it permeates the vast cosmos. Then just bringing your hands back. As you're bringing your hands back, saying to yourself, I completely believe that the healing that I shall receive will heal me. Okay? So now I want you just to be aware once again of those pockets where you felt that there was debris within your body. Okay? And what we're going to do today is we're just going to do some affirmations. Okay? Once we do the affirmations, you're going to snap your fingers because I'm bestowing this ability upon all of you. Okay? Right now, for everyone that is tuning into me, that is participating with me through this exercise, I'm bestowing upon you through this exercise to utilize the power of spirit to cleanse away all of these things. Okay? So, as you have done that now, you're just going to repeat after me the following affirmation. I command the divine forces of God to enter into my field, to enter into my body, to detect these pockets of distortion, to gather them into a central point, so that they may be discharged completely. And through the power of spirit, all of these distortions shall be discharged entirely and freed from my body, from the heart, from the emotional, from the mental, from the akashic, and from the karmic levels of my being. And so it is. So now that they are gathered there, on the count of 3, you're just going to snap your fingers and you're going to watch all of that disappear. In 1, 2, 3, snap your fingers. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And you will feel all of that lifting away, coming out of your body, purging completely. Okay? Like I said, when you're doing the affirmation, you're putting your full conviction into it. Okay? So if it still feels like there's some debris there, all I want you to do is just look at that debris, and I want you just to surrender to it. Okay? Surrender, 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 surrender. Once you feel you're completely surrendered, snap your fingers again, watch it vanish. Okay? That would be the follow-up in case any of you need that. All right? So deep breath in, deep breath out. And that concludes our group healing for today. That concludes our episode for today, for this Friday. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. You can again join me for next Friday for another episode of New York TV Live. And next weekend, we'll also be doing the next Adronis broadcast. Will be taking place on the 30th of April. Okay. Then on, I think Monday, May 1st, I'll be doing a special broadcast of AetherX in the morning, and that will be talking about our brand new website that's going to be launching, as well as with the Taurus beds, and again, a lot of new fun features that the website has in store. All right. So again, guys, have a great rest of the weekend. Thank you so much for being a part of today's broadcast. I really appreciate it. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, and I'll speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Take care and be well. Thank you so much for tuning in to New Earth Teachings on YouTube. Don't forget to check out our websites, newearthteachings.com, where you can do private sessions with me, and also atherx.co. And through AetherX, you'll be able to pick up your Healing Code Cards body deck, your mind deck, and your energy deck through AetherX. You will also be able to pick up the Ether Bed kit. That is also on AetherX as well. Not to mention that you'll also be able to pick up some apparel and accessories that is also available on AetherX. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, Namaskar, and may it be well with you.